Uh, thank you, Pramodji. I'm muting all participants.
Yes, sir.
That's very important. And I welcome you all to this Zoom meeting of ours, the first of its kind between you and me, and I hope we will all enjoy it. But enjoying is good in this period of stress. At the same time, we have to have certain new learnings, especially because Pramodji has instructed me that we should be able to prepare ourselves, not only for this online teaching, which may continue for a long time, even after when the schools are open, but also for what happens to actual classroom teaching when our children join. I'll be sharing my screen with you and we'll start with my presentation directly, which will ask all of you some very interesting questions that I have for you. Please start thinking about those questions and let us see what you are capable of thinking. You will all be able to think, but then that thinking may lead to solutions. And the times are such where none of us is wise enough to find solutions to all the problems. Each one of us putting our heads together may come up with ideas, and most of these ideas, when put in the crucible of critical thinking, will lead to very positive answers. My first presentation, which possibly you will see on the screen just now, I would like from Pramodji, if you could unmute your mic, Pramodji, only you could unmute, right, so that I and you could keep talking. Right. Are you able to see the presentation,
yes,
sir?
Yes, sir. It is very
I have put it on the large scale. Yes, I have named this presentation as Let's Be Ready. You know what for we have to be ready. Yes, ready for meeting the challenges of online teaching, ready for opening up our schools. Now, how do I take it up one by one? We have more people joining us. I have to allow them also. I have allowed them and I have muted all. You will have to, Pramodji, unmute yourself again so that you can talk to me.
Right.
What now? How long are we going to continue this online teaching? Will we continue it even during the summer break? Or will this online teaching be integrated with the normal classroom teaching after the schools open? Are we ready to open our schools? No wild guesses, please. Many of my friends say, sir, by end of June, we'll open them. I don't see that it will be even possible up till September to open them. But maybe we are able to open them earlier, and I hope so. What preparations do we need to make now? We should not be caught unawares, like the migrant labor was caught in Delhi and in other places like Bombay. They didn't know that they could go home now. They didn't know. They were caught unawares. We also should not be. What preparations do we have to make at our schools so that we can be ready for teaching? What safety and security arrangements do we need to take for ourselves, for our colleagues, and for our children, who are the most precious jewels entrusted to us? Now, the first thing that we have to bear in mind is social distancing. I think lockdown and social distancing are the only ways in which we can control what we call as this COVID-19. Now, what do we need to do in social distancing? Can we continue with the same school timetable or the same school schedule? I don't think. We'll have to revise it. The whole timetable will go for a toss. We may have to flip-flop it, readjust it. What about the transportation of students and their conveyance? Because these buses that will ply will have to ply either in 2 shifts, or we'll have to bring in only half the children. Normally, we used to bring 40 to 50 children in a bus, but that will not enable us to maintain social distancing. Perhaps we may have to leave a seat free and seat a child in the front on the left-hand side of one seat and on the right-hand side of the third seat. What about methodologies of teaching? We have taught them certain portions of syllabi. Do we need to revise them or assess them only? And how do we teach them? If we are going to mix our teaching, which is online as well as classroom teaching, how do we strategize? Do we go for blended teaching? Do we go for flipped classroom? Do we use more worksheets? Do we send them videos through the WhatsApp? Do we use now the channels? More than 100 channels are being opened by the government of India. Each channel dedicated to each class. There will be a TV channel for class 1, for class 2, up to class 12. So you will have 12 channels on which there will be running programs for those people who do not have internet facilities and smartphone facilities. And these channels will also deal with the same curriculum, predominantly useful to students who do not have these facilities. How will we deploy our staff? If we decide to run the school in 2 shifts, or if we decide to break a class into 2 parts and have half on Monday and half on Tuesday, who will teach on Monday and who will teach on Tuesday? This deployment will also have to be planned. Do we organize morning assemblies outside, or do we have them inside the classes? What about our sports programs? Please keep the social distancing factor in view, and then take a decision beforehand that this is how games will be organized, this is how sports will be organized, this is how assembly will be conducted, keeping a distance of about 6 or more than 6 feet between 2 children. At the same time, we will have to think of our assessment and evaluation. Assessment is a periodic concept, is a daily concept. A formative assessment would mean that it will have to be integrated with every lesson. After every lesson, we have to see how much of that lesson has been learned by the children. And if there are any deficiencies, what kind of remediation will we do? And evaluation would come when 3 or 4 chapters or 10 chapters or 10 lessons have been delivered. It would come at the end. And plus, what about attendance of students? If I am a parent, I might not send my child to school at all. I might wait for another 3 months. Yesterday, the director of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, who is this time visiting Ahmedabad hospitals, said that the numbers would peak up in the month of June. That's what he said. And then possibly we may have a downward trend. Now, if June is going to be the peak month, I would not send my child out of the love that I bear to him till September also. And there may be children who may have no transport facilities, who may get caught up in red zones, who may get caught up in hotspot centers. So the regularity of students is another aspect about which we have to think. We have to think about the curriculum that we had planned, the academic planner that we had. A revised alternative academic calendar has been published by the NCERT also for classes 1 to 5 separately, for classes 6 to 9 separately. And now, I think within 2 days, they will have the revised academic calendar, which is only for first 4 weeks, for classes 9 to 12 also. Should we go in for some changes in this? This is the time that these things can be planned. Now, this is social distancing maintained in some of the schools. On the left-hand side, the picture that you see, which has the yellow kind of boxes, these are thick cardboard pieces that lie there on a table. And as the children come, they pick up one, they turn it, and they open it up in the shape of a U, and they sit down. In the other, you can see that they are all wearing face masks. I saw a video a friend sent yesterday, a small 2-minute video on Facebook, wherein the child is being attended to at least by 6 people before entering the school. His feet are washed, the soles of the shoe are washed, then the child moves in, another man carries him, another person carries him, he sanitizes his hands, then he is given gloves, and then as he moves forward, the child is given a mask, and then he moves to the class. We'll have to look at this all. What about our hygiene and sanitation? Very ticklish issues for my Pramod ji and the management also. What kind of arrangements are you going to make in your school for regular hand wash? Because I know the kind of taps we have in schools. I mean, it's 5, 6 children, and even sometimes 30 to 40 children, I mean, fighting for a space near the tap. Now, with social distancing to be maintained, I have never seen, many of the schools, I've never seen a soap being made available near a wash basin. And then a dryer, wherein you dry your hands, because after washing hands, either you use a tissue or you let your hands dry, which would be the best course. Wiping them off on a hanky doesn't help. What about sanitization? That also is a very important aspect. And then The second aspect, do you have a sick bay in your school? Does it have 2 or 3 beds at least? Do you have 1 or 2 medical rooms? A child can fall ill. You are not going to rush him to a hospital because hospitals will not be taking in patients for a very long time. You cannot imagine that this child may be having such and such unfortunate disease and therefore he needs to be rushed. We need to pay some medical attention to this child in our own medical bay. We need to have constantly a nursemaid available to us. We need to have masks. We need to have gloves. And these masks are not permanent. They are used for a day. That's all. The mask that you wear today has to be thrown off into a dustbin where from it can be taken as garbage, covered dustbin. You cannot use it on the second day. What about the sanitization of the whole building? That is a regular process now. Before the children reach your classes, the whole building should have been sanitized, the corridors, the washrooms, the retiring rooms, the canteens, everything. Even the classrooms, the benches, the walls, everything needs to be sanitized because one infected person can bring in the virus. And if we have 1,000 students in our school or 500 students in our school, the chances are they may catch it up. Or the chances are out of 40, if 20 teachers fall a prey to it, we are gone for a toss. We cannot run the school. The transport buses that you are using, even the cars that you are using for driving your staff members or others, they need to be sanitized daily before you leave in the morning. Or they need to be sanitized in the afternoon, for which they can be kept under that condition for the night and morning you play again. If you are going to run 2 shifts, supposing there are ideas that a school can start at 7, go ahead up to 11, start another session by around 12 or 1, and go up to 5. Well, then the buses need to be sanitized early in the morning at 6. When they come back, they need to be sanitized again before they leave for the second trip. And when they come back in the evening, they need to be sanitized again. Do we have all those facilities in our schools? Do we have that equipment? Which gates are you going to use? How many do you have in your school? Would you like to use one gate? The parents will crowd outside this gate to hand over their children to you, and they will not be able to maintain social distancing. You need to have all of them coming in a single line at a distance of 6 feet from one another, 1 meter minimum. And then you need to screen every child, not only sanitize him, not only clean him, but go for thermal screening. That also is going to be a very important aspect. Then one of the aspects that is affecting schools very badly, the managements are terribly worried, the staff on their own part are also worried. Since during these 3 or 4 months, we used to get the maximum payment from the parents. Sometimes they would pay the fee, the annual fee, the tuition fee, and all other fees that were payable, they would pay them in one go. They would normally pay them as somebody would pay it yearly, somebody 6 monthly, at least quarterly. But this time, very few. Very few means just insignificant 2 or 3% have paid. The rest have not. With the government saying that you will accept only tuition fee, charge no other fee. With the government saying that parents will not be pressurized to pay for more than a month. You can ask them to pay the fee of that month. And if he is not able to pay this month, give him time, he will pay it in the second month. What about staff salary under these circumstances? Because the revenues of the school are the fee. I mean, the management is not running it as a business house. They do not have deposits and fixed resources with them that they can take up activities of staff welfare and staff salary. I was reading an article in a newspaper in the morning. A survey has been done by a Bombay organization, an NGO, where they have found that more than 47% schools in Bombay, private schools in Bombay, have not been able to pay the salary of their staff. 31% have paid their salary after deductions, some to the tune of 20%, some to the tune of 40%. So only 80% salary paid to the staff, only 60% paid to the staff. They are managing somehow. At the same time, they are requesting parents if they could. But then the parents have their own arguments. the maintaining of recurring expenses other than salaries. As you need certain equipments, you need certain registers, certain stationery. If you are working with chalk and board, you need chalk. You need to pay to those who are running your programs. If you have gone for DG boards, you have gone into a contract, that organization is looking for its payment. They may stop all these programs. Your annual budget that you had made on the basis of your last year's income and last year's expenditure is out now. It's of no use. You will have to recast, re-anticipate your annual income. And in the light of that, your expenditures may also increase on sanitation, on security. This may also be changed. Because no other fee is to be charged other than tuition fee. You will have to find other ways and resources. No free increase can be given this year at all. You will be surprised. The central government has withdrawn that installment of dearness allowance, which it had announced some months back. They announced some months back and then suddenly said, no, we are keeping it abeyance for some time. So you also, even if you have got the sanction from the state government, you got it approved by the Directorate of Education, somebody may take you to the court that since it was ordered, because the laws that are controlling us under the Disaster Management Act are made by the center, and education being a state subject as well as a central subject, it's in the concurrent list. Therefore, the laws of the center will prevail over the laws of the state. Then we have one more concept. Parents are required to pay only monthly. They cannot be pressurized to pay quarterly and annually. If they like to pay, they can, otherwise not. There will be some students in the school, maybe not in your school, who will not be in a position to pay at all. The father has lost a job. The mother was working. She worked for some time from home, and now there has been a cut in the quantum of jobs. You'll be surprised to know that the estimated loss of jobs runs into crores in India. We expect that by September, almost a crore of people will have lost their jobs. Students may not be therefore in a position to pay. What about teaching and learning? How will this continue? You might be thinking of this. What methods will we employ now? Will we use the same lecture strategy along with a little of technology? Or do we need to cover so much of syllabi within such a short time? At the same time, the children are very much stressed, and stress does not enable them to learn because of the secretions of hormones in the brain, in the various sectors of the brain. They are not able to learn. They are not socially with us. They are not emotionally with us. How will they learn? Their social and emotional well-being is more important. Therefore, the strategies of teaching have to be totally different. What more do we need to do in teaching learning? Will we combine online teaching and the classroom teaching? One of my suggestions that has come to friends, which I also saw some friends did talk of this suggestion, was that we could break a class which has 30 to 40 children into two parts. It would be the odd roll numbers and the even roll numbers. The odd roll numbers would come on odd days and the even roll numbers would come on even days. Now, when the odd roll numbers are in front of me and I am doing face-to-face teaching with 15 or 18 children in my class, the children who are at home will also be listening to that class, but the mode will be online. How do I integrate this online and offline teaching? How will I assess every day? Will I keep on conducting quizzes? Will I keep on sending them small multiple choice questions when the board tomorrow or the final examination tomorrow is going to ask for written short answer questions, long answer questions, summaries, extracts, detailed answers? How will I do this all? And then next, how do I remedy? What kind of remediation programs do I run for those students who missed my online classes or who are still not learning? They are not in a position to learn. Their brain is not fully functional. The child used to be doing at least average, but now he has gone and fallen below average. How do we prepare our children for the board exams? The syllabi being so vast, The contents may be decreased, maybe 1/3 of the content may be decreased, but even then, the board examination patterns will not change. We know that. The marking schemes have undergone a little change because they have integrated chapters. Chapter 1 and Chapter 3 will have Chapter 2 also integrated with it. That means we have to teach the whole. How do we teach it? Will we go for blended teaching, wherein we blend technology into our lessons? Every lesson has a video, every lesson has a worksheet, every lesson has an assignment, every lesson has an audio clip, every lesson has certain other elements of technology which are integrated with that lesson. Or do we go for flipped classroom? The concept is quite easy. We will not be teaching in our classrooms. We'll be preparing ourselves with materials, keeping them ready. When the children come, we'll pass on the videos to them, pass on the handouts to them, pass on the sites to them, the links to the sites to them, give them the books and tell them, look here, this is the chapter that we have to study. I have given you the material, I have given you the video. I want you to go home, spend 2 hours on this lesson and read it. Tomorrow when you come, I'll ask for your opinion, your discussion, your seminar, your project. So the roles get reversed. That's what flipping is. It's turning the turtle upside down. The role that used to be of the home was completion of homework. Now that will be done in the classes under the guidance of the teacher. The teacher may that time see where the deficiencies are and fill in those loopholes, but major portions of work will be done. This has been already going on in most of the universities. There are certain other issues also that are very, very important and that matter. 2 of them, confidence building among stakeholders. Are the parents ready to send their children? Are they assured that their child will be very safe? Are they assured that their child will not engage himself in an activity where he comes in contact with other children who may or may not be having this infection or being asymptomatic? Now, what are the strategies that you will deal? Because your children will be coming out of the confines of their home after a long time. 45 days are over. We are going to have another 40 days now. Say 3 months, 4 months. Now, when they come after 4 months, what's going to be the situation? You can imagine it's a cow that was tied to a tether for about 4 years, and now suddenly the rope has been loosened. She starts jumping around and running around. The children are going to enjoy the freedom after 4 months. This transition is going to be 1 second. Aji, 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 आप कुछ तगड़ा लगा रहे हैं मेरे को. That smell is disturbing me. Fan on कर दो उधर exhaust करो. I'm sorry, the kitchen is also going on when you are at home, and the tadka is irritating my throat.
Yeah.
Now you will have to go for these strategies also. There will be lifestyle changes. Our life is not going to be the same, neither for the children nor for the teachers. It's going to undergo a kind of change. I mean, every teacher may like to wash his hands after having touched a book. Every teacher may like to ask the children to deposit the notebooks on the table, leave them there for 12 hours, and then pick them up the next day. And when she picks them up, she puts them in a bag, washes her hands with soap, and sanitizes them at the same time. We will become more conscious of hygiene and sanitation for our own safety. And then there's another problem. If I, as a teacher, had a case of COVID-19 in my own family, luckily, fortunately, with the blessings of God and the good service of the doctors, the case is back home. But because my home has been quarantined for some time, even I was put under quarantine for about 14 days. There's a social stigma attached to it. As I enter the gate, everybody runs away. Nobody talks to me. Nobody comes close to me. We have to fight this social stigma also. Then, what are the social and emotional needs of the children? They would love to shake hands. They would love to say high five. High five to their children. They would like to be loved. They would love to express their feelings. But now these social and emotional needs will all have to be met in the class or online by the teacher. There's no other interaction possible. Will you be running the school canteens Lucky are those schools that would have them. But then by and large, we will have to see whether we can manage effectively, because running school canteens is social distance, cleanliness of the people working there, the mess boys and the mess manager, and then do they maintain the social distance? What about the food items that come to the canteen? How are they maintained? How are they kept clean? How are they hygienically eligible for us? And that brings us to the last concept of the soul. How will we organize our parent-teacher meets? I'm glad some of the schools have organized parent-teacher meets class-wise, online, spoken to the parents, given them an opportunity to express themselves, and that did work wonderfully. But then there can be occasions when a teacher would like to meet the parent personally, or the parent would like to discuss some confidential issues with the parent one-to-one basis. And physically, by looking at the eyes of the teacher or the parent, you understand many other things which words do not express. This is another important aspect. I'll be removing this. And while you are thinking, because Pramod ji has gone through this program, I would like to share a video with you, which is just a 5-minute video. This is predominantly meant for leaders, but for me, all of you are leaders. You are each one of you a leader in your own situation now. Watch this. It talks of the 7 C's. Can you hear the sound, Pramod ji? You will have to tell me.
Hello, I'm John Quelch, the Dean of the University of Miami Herbert Business School. I want to share with you my 7 C's for coronavirus survival if you're a manager or a leader. Number 1 is calm. Your folks, your employees, your customers, your suppliers are going to be looking to you as a leader to project a sense of calm through this difficult, uncertain situation. Number 2, confidence. You have to be calm, but not still water calm. You have to project confidence that you're going to be able to see this through successfully with the minimum amount of hurt to the company, but also to all of the stakeholders who are relying on your leadership to get them through the difficult days and months ahead. Number 3 is communication. You have to relentlessly communicate. This is to avoid rumors developing that muddy the waters. But when I'm talking about communication, I'm also talking about a strategy for communication. You have to have a sense of order in which to communicate decisions and priorities, but you also have to have rapid communication to the entire body of constituents, not delays over hours or days or even worse, weeks. And silence is absolutely the worst possible thing that you can allow to happen, because that's when the rumor mill develops. So far we have keep calm, project confidence, relentlessly communicate. Number 4 is collaboration. You are not going to know all the answers. No one expects you to. This is a time for you to call on the resources, the capabilities of all of your employees, all of your team members, and bring them together in task forces, sub-task forces, have everyone potentially given a role in which they feel they can be contributing to overcoming the uncertainty, overcoming the crisis. Engaging a lot of your employees in this way will also reduce the rumor mill, give confidence to them that they will then project in turn to the people who are relying on them as their managers for direction. So collaboration, teamwork, delving into your organization to find the hidden nuggets, the people who really can step up at this moment. That's going to be very, very important. Next, I would say community. All of us live in communities. Our factories are in communities. Our colleges and universities are in communities. We are leading by example, not just within our organizations, but within our broader communities. And especially since we're talking here about an infectious virus, it's extremely important that we set an example, we model behaviors that are community-friendly and community-supportive behaviors. I would say compassion is extremely important at this time. You or I may have a strong stomach for these kinds of events. We may rise to the occasion if we're fortunate to have a good team around us. But there are many people in our organizations who are depending upon us who are not necessarily that resilient. And they need to be given the compassion to express their concerns in ways that, you or I might not necessarily need to do. So think of someone in your organization who has elderly parents who are in a fragile state of health. They're going to be doubly concerned about those relatives at this time when the virus is potentially affecting the most vulnerable and medically challenged in our communities. And therefore, if they want time off, if they want to work from home, if they need to have a little bit of space to look after their family members, please consider giving that to them. Compassion at a time of crisis is a very important manifestation of leadership. The most obvious commercial C of the 7 C's is cash. Cash is king at a time of crisis, and everything needs to be done to look both short-term and long-term at the financial health of the organization, because after all of your employees, suppliers, and customers are depending upon you to lead not just emotionally, but also prudently with respect to the long-term finances of the organization. So whatever you can do to conserve cash is going to be very important because that's what's going to determine whether or not your employees are going to be paid next week. To summarize the 7 C's that I've been talking about: number 1, stay calm. Number 2, project confidence. Number 3, communicate relentlessly. Number 4, collaborate. Look out for your teams and work with your team members. Number 5, community. We are in a community virus spreading environment. You have to look out for not just yourself, your company, your organization, but the community as well in the messaging that you're sending. Number 6 is compassion. Be compassionate to those who need that sense of reassurance and understanding at this difficult time. And number 7, cash. Cash is king. The leader has to look out for the financial future, not just the emotional future.
Two more people are joining now, Pramodji. Doesn't matter. I took them in. Kanika Mahajan, and then there is OPP.
Rejoining, sir.
Maybe she might have left. Now I come to the second part that you asked me, sir. You asked me a particular question and you said, sir, how do we do this? So I'm coming to that now. I'll switch on my video also now. I don't know why my video is not working. What's the reason for that? My video is not working because of, now I mute all and I move ahead even if it doesn't work. Right. There's a very interesting question meanwhile I was looking at the chat. It was perhaps in this or the earlier meeting that you asked me something which I'm going to talk to all of you now. I'm sorry, dear friends. I have to unmute myself. What's the reason? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can hear me, but this shows that I am muted. My video here, my Zoom shows that I am muted.
Now you are muted.
Unmute.
Now unmute.
And what happened to the video, sir?
Video can use a restart, replay.
I don't think that is the answer, but maybe that could be the answer. Let me change the view first. Doesn't matter. We go ahead. It is better.
Stop sharing, then
Again
start
share.
your video. And
All
then
right,
you may
right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You found the right answer. And here I am. See, that's how we collaborate. Everybody, I mean, everybody contributes in one or the other way. Thank you, Aroraji. Thank you. I'm grateful to you.
How you share your
Because
screen again.
I'm making an advice to my
Share your
teachers.
screen again.
I will do that. I'll do that, sir. I'm making a request to my teachers, and I don't want that they should do, but before they do it, I should be doing it myself. I have taken up something which I can do very fast, very fast. Number one, 9 points I have taken up, 9 points, I'll sum them up. When you are teaching, because there was a question and I think perhaps the answer to that question will come in this. When you are teaching online, which you are doing right now and which you will be required to do in future, please bear these 9 points in mind. Number one, the platform which your school has made available to you, whether it's Zoom, whether it's Google Classrooms, Google Forms, whether it's Google Meet, whether it's Skype, or whether it is Microsoft Teams, whatever the platform, please try to get familiar with that platform. Work with that platform for 1 or 2 days without delivering lessons on that platform. Ask your principal, sir, today please, could we both come on the platform? I would talk to you on this platform. I would learn the use of this button or that button. You saw even today I had to learn how to switch my video on. Only Aroraji helped me. So that means I have not fully familiarized myself with the platform. I have committed that mistake. You shouldn't be. There are 2 features in every platform. One is the mute button, another is the chat box. Practice them as much as you can. They are your best friends. Because whenever there is an interruption, you mute everybody. Whenever you want to talk to them, you can write, "Hello everyone, please keep quiet." Or they can send you a message, "Good morning, sir, we are all fine. We are all listening to you." Practice using these 2. Well, that's the first point. The second, remember that always less content is more than enough. If you want to bring in a presentation, please try font size 48. I have used this size which is in front of you is 48. Why do I suggest 48? Because when you use 48, you will not be able to write much on a slide. Very little information on each slide. And please do not have more than 10 slides. We take up presentations of 10 slides because we have to explain each slide and then we run into examples. It takes us almost 1.5 hours to complete those 10 slides. You should be able to do those 10 slides in 30 minutes time. Have a picture on each slide, please. Not more than 2 ideas, 1 idea or 2 ideas maximum on a slide. And never forget the main aim of the lesson. You are not here to impress upon them the picture. That's not important. The picture should be relevant to the aim. You are not going to give them some information which is not relevant to the aim of the lesson. Never lose sight of that. I come to the third. Please experience the difference between online teaching and classroom teaching. These are 2 different platforms and there's a hell of a difference. In the on-rail classroom, you are face to face. You maintain eye contact. You can modulate your voice. You can look at the faces of your children. Their faces will tell you a lot whether they are understanding or not. You can move around. You can pat them on the back. You can reinforce them. You can get them into groups. But that's not possible. You will have to struggle a bit in the beginning. Everybody has done that. When we also started these workings on Zoom or on Google Meet, we also had to struggle. Everyone has to struggle. But please overcome the fear. I was telling Aroraji a story that when I started speaking for the first time in front of an audience, my legs started shaking before I could reach the stage or the audience. I was outside the theater. And I talked to a student of mine who had just completed his class 12th and was now joining the MBBS degree. I said, "Yaar, what the hell am I going to talk there? I don't know. And your father also, he doesn't behave properly. His father had sent me a word that you have to speak, please rush up quickly." He gave me a few ideas, speak on this, speak on this, speak on that. And these 3 or 4 ideas, I kept them rattling in my mind. And as I reached the audience, I saw the monkey. We call him the Murphy monkey. Murphy was a radio brand. The Murphy monkey jumped onto my back. It's not a physical monkey. You have to imagine the situation. And he pressed his both hands onto my throat. I started coughing. Good morning. Now I couldn't speak. He had already strangulated me. This boy who had given me some points, he raised his finger and got up a little from his chair and said, "Point number 1. I started talking of that point number 1, and I could see the monkey's grip loosening a little. As I dealt with the second, he removed both his hands. And when I finally concluded and everybody cheered for the beautiful words I had spoken at the age of 23, 24, the monkey had already jumped. I never allowed that monkey to jump onto my back again. You will initially struggle, no worry. For you, this fear has to be overcome by you. I would suggest only one thing for it. You have to do it. Just do it today. Don't wait for it. I'll do it tomorrow. Don't defer. Don't procrastinate. Do it. The 4th point. The method is very important. Don't ignore that. Don't forget the pedagogical system. What method are you using? Is it experiential teaching? Is it constructivism? Is it that you give them a subject and then give them a practice? I follow a particular method, which perhaps may be a new method for all of you, because I'm speaking it to you for the first time. I learned about this method in the year 2002 and continued with it for 5 years till 2007. The method is called 3 Ps. The method of 3 Ps. Present information is the first P. Practice information is the second P. Assess the performance is the third P. Well, that was my strategy and it did work. I am grateful to the lady from Switzerland, Madam Suzanne Luber. Aroraji will recall her. What a charming personality she was who gave it to us. But the only thing that I could not do was, she said presentation should be only 30% of the time, practice should be more than 60% of the time, and performance should be 10% of the time. My presentation would run almost 100%, then I would practice it the second day. That's where I could not. Build your lesson, whatever it is, whether it's an online lesson or a classroom lesson. Have a pedagogical system, whatever method it's being, whether it's inductive, whether it's deductive, whether it's eclectical, whether it's question and answer. Whatever method you are choosing, that's going to be a very important tool for you. Have a clear aim. What changes are you going to bring about in the behavior of your children at the end of your lesson? What learning outcomes will apparently be available to you at the end of the lesson? Do you have an activity that you are going to do in every online lesson? It has to be a very engaging activity. Is there a dialogue which becomes almost negligible in an online activity unless you use the chat box more often after every 5 to 10 minutes? Do you practice the concepts that you have taught? And assessment at the end of the lesson, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes assessment of what you taught. I was glad when somebody last time told us in a Zoom meeting that, sir, I give them questions and they are all required to write their answers and then show me the answer. Raise the answer like this and say, madam, this is my answer. Good, you have written the correct answer. No, 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 that's not a correct answer. Correct this answer. So there are people who have devised these strategies. I never read of them anywhere, but these are very useful. We go to the 5th now. The 5th strategy is get feedback early. It's very interesting. I'll share the truth with you, although Aroraji will not like my sharing that with you. Please ask a colleague to watch your class. As a silent observer, ask the colleague, sir, please put your camera off, or madam, please put your camera off, watch me, watch my whole lesson, right? Or if you have recorded the video as I am recording right now, pass on this video to a colleague, a trusted colleague, and tell him, sir, please watch my lesson, madam, please watch my lesson. And then others can spot faster what is working and what is not. And they will give you those ideas and you will improve very quickly. Will you believe me that 2 days earlier when I made this presentation, I put it up in front of Aurora ji and Dr. Avtar Singh. They watched me, I delivered, they quietly listened to me. And after I shut down the presentation, they said, are you going to have a cup of tea? I said, no, sir. Then please listen to us. And they suggested that presentation which I showed to them was a little different. I had to make changes, 10, 20, 30% changes. Now, if you want to improve, then this feedback has to be quickly got from a colleague. That other person may not be as good as you are. You may have impressions that you alone are the best. But even if that other person knows a little, he will give you a feedback that will help you to improve your lesson. We come to the 6th. The lesson does not stop here. After the class is over is as important as before the class begins. What work are you asking your children to do? Which sites will they go and visit? Which book will they read? Where will they revise the lesson? Who will assist them in summarizing this whole lesson that you read? How will they go for a recap? What I mean, a recapitulation. You can ask them, whatever work you do, snap a photograph of that using your mobile camera and send that photograph to me. You can ask them a few questions when you start your next lesson about the previous lesson before you go ahead. You can ask them to send your answers to my questions on WhatsApp or email your answers. You can give them a project and ask them to send that project to you, the pictures of that project, scanned pictures of that project on WhatsApp or on email. Or you can have an online quiz with them, which always is a very interesting activity for the children. Our 7th lesson is you need a lot of preparation. Like you used to prepare with your lesson plans and prepare with your content, an online lesson needs more resource. Please remember, if unfortunately any one of our teachers fumbles because she doesn't know what resource to use now, she doesn't know perhaps what explanation to give, or she doesn't know what I had planned will be the next step, well, that fumbling would be very bad because the students will disengage. I saw in a meeting, we were more than 200 people. When the meeting became more dreary and it became a long lecture, half of them had already left. That is what happens in online classes also. As your lesson, they listen to it very attentively. They are fascinated by the introduction of the lesson, the very first steps, and then they find, oh, the madam does not have the available resources. She doesn't have a proper explanation to give us. She doesn't know what comes next. They leave the class, or they are physically present, they are not mentally with you. Please give them clear instructions. Very, very important. The wording of the instructions has to be made clear, and if it's repeated, there's no harm. And give them a rehearsal of how they have to do that. This also is important. You can't think, our online lesson is so easy, I can do it anytime. Many of us have this idea of winging it. I can do, ask me to do it when it's to be done. And then suddenly when you are in the middle of the lesson, you forget that the activity sheet is not with you. You forget that the camera is not working properly. You forget that your audio cables are not with you. You can't wing these things, they are all important. The 8th point. Now this is important. Dr. Avtar Singh ji, now this is the answer to your question that you asked me at 10. This class, online class, requires more energy than you put in your classroom teaching. Please stand up while teaching. We are all sitting today, enjoying a conversation, which may become a dialogue over a period of time, but please stand up while you are teaching. Let them realize that you are a teacher and you have a lot of energy in you. Use your arms, use your gestures, use your facial expressions. You have to be more dramatic than you used to be normally. We say teachers, good teachers are good actors. We have always said that. 1 second, sir. Hello. Yes. You are ringing me at a very wrong time, my son. Very wrong time. Sorry. So stand up while teaching, use your gestures, use your postures, and be as dramatic, because since you are not able to maintain the physical contact with your children, they are on the other side of the screen. Therefore, you will have to dramatize. They get attracted and fascinated to these acts of yours. Extra energy can go a long way. If you want to get connected to your children, that energy is going to be the main thing. Because you are working with your children who are across the screen, therefore you will have to display that energy. Please try to seek individual expression from each child. Make them write. You can tell them the important points may be written. I would like you to show me what you wrote. Make them chat with you through the chat box. Make them speak at the end, during the lesson, whenever you stop. I'm stopping for 5 minutes. I want each one of you, first 5 roll numbers to please talk to me. Now next 5 students to please talk to me. You can devise your own ways. The ways have to be multiple. It should not become a mannerism with you. Now, madam, they will predict. Now, madam will go and ask us to chat. Now, madam will ask us to speak. No, use as many ways as you can possibly ask them, and you can do it simultaneously. While one is chatting, the other is expressing himself in words. The third is showing you pictures of what he has written. I was surprised to write it myself when I wrote this. I have come across in my life many children, many people who did not communicate in the physical environment of a class. In the physical setting of a class, they did not communicate. They hesitated to communicate. But in an online class, they were the first to communicate. They were the most vociferous. Children communicate much more on an online class, and this will surprise you, than they communicate in another class. I am sure you must have written all the 9 points. I'm not going to subject any one of you to a test, but I will summarize these 9 points once again in front of you. Number 1, respect the technology. Number 2, less content is always more. Number 3, experience the difference between online and classroom teaching. The method is always very important. Get feedback at a very early stage of your online teaching. Number 6, the lesson will keep on continuing. Number 7, you need a lot of preparation. Number 8, you need a lot of energy. Number 9, you will have to involve the children so that they express themselves individually, because they can't express themselves in groups now. Now here, I'm going to take up certain issues that are of concern to Pramodji and to you. I'm going to the right-hand corner of this slide. That is the step 1. I would request that all staff members before the opening of the school are called to school 1 or 2 days before. Plan in consultation with them all the rules that are going to be put in place concerning movement, concerning traffic, concerning sanitization. Decide upon all these things, because you have called the entire staff, you are talking to all of them, everyone will become aware of the rules. And whatever rules have been made now, instructions have been made now, these instructions should be made available at various places. The principal's room, the staff room at 2 or 3 places, the library, the corridors, each classroom, everywhere these rules should be displayed. Now come to step 2 on the left-hand corner. Send a detailed circular of these rules to all the parents and all the teachers. Make multiple calls. The principal calls them. Good morning, sir. He has a Zoom meeting with them. He gives them the rules. We are opening our school after 3 days. Now, these are some of the rules for the safety of our children. I hope you explain these to your child and we all follow them. The headmistress could call a little later and give again the same information. The coordinators and the class teachers could call their children and their parents separately. Multiple calls. Things do not happen by calling our parents, especially in India once. You have to do it several times. Go to step 3. Call to diverse classes on the first day. On the first day when you open the school, don't open it for all, please. Say call class 5 and class 9, class 4 and class 8, any 2 classes. Don't call more than 2 classes. Train them in these new processes. You are not only training the children, you are training your own staff. You are envisaging and visualizing the deficiencies in your system. You are coming to know how well your system is working with a smaller number of children. Decide upon the entry, because you will have to now have several entry points, more security staff. You cannot allow all the children to be in a line at 6 feet distance. It will take 2 hours for exit. Decide upon the entrance and the exit. Decide upon the transport. Decide upon what kind of activities we'll have in the field. Decide how intimacy or infirmary arrangements will be made. I don't know what word I wanted to write here. Social distancing, how it will be maintained. What rules and how will we operate on those rules. Come to step 4. After all the students are trained, call half of the school. I don't want the whole school to be called. Sir may say, sir, we'll not call class 1 to 5 the first day. We'll only call 6 to 10. Well, then you will have to break each class into 2 parts. And do you have so many teachers who can deal with classes 6 to 10? What will the primary teachers be doing? They can only engage them. Well, the children will go back home and say, we were not taught. We were only engaged and kept busy. This will be the real test how we handle it. So my solution to this is break each class into 2 halves. The odds on Monday, the evens on Tuesday. The odds repeat on Wednesday, the evens repeat on Thursday. The odds come back on Friday and the evens come back on Saturday. That's how I would do it. Now I take you to the 4 hours that have to be kept in mind. Whatever you have imagined will not work. You will have to keep on improving upon your imagination. Your imagination will keep on, you will have to reimagine things. You will have to resolve a lot of conflicts. You will have to be immediate in the solution of problems. You will have to reinvent solutions to the problems. And then the behavioral changes that occur both in the staff and the students, you will have to see how they can be brought about effectively. You will have to devise upon the mask rules for how many days can a mask be used. Will the school provide the masks, or will the parents buy the masks and leave them in the class for the children? They bring one from home, they wear another at school. What kind of physical safety measures are you going to take for the children? I move to another now. Field rules will all get changed on the left-hand side. The norms that you had made for the sick bay with the doctor on call and the nurse in attendance, they will have to be updated, because on the first day you may have no case. On the second day you may have 4. You will not be able to manage those 4, so you may have to devise different rules. Action if a case emerges, say a health department, advice. What about the breaks? Will you have staggered breaks? Class 1 to 2 will have a break at 10:10. Class 3, 4, and 5 will have a break at 10:40. Class 6 will have a break at 11:30. What about morning assembly? The admissible fact is that it should be held in the classes. What about the norms for ayahs bringing and taking care of the students? I saw a video where a teacher wanted to hug her children. Lovely. She came to the door of her house or her class. She put a sheet of polythene in front of her, covered herself all with this polythene sheet, and told her students they could come and hug her because the children loved to hug her. Now, how will the ayahs? Our ayahs, you know, they hold the child by the arm and they virtually drag him sometimes, or they carry him. If the child is not willing, he is lifted. Now, will this kind of a contact be allowed? You will have to decide upon those rules and explain these to the ayahs. And in case of eventualities, ask them what are the other problems and how will you solve them. Now, there will be sanitization rules. How will you work with your laboratories, with your computer lab, with your science labs, your language lab, your library, your toilets? Do they need to be sanitized regularly? Do they need to be sanitized twice a day? Will children be allowed to touch books in the library? They will be touching science equipment. They will be touching computers. Who will sanitize all them? The entry and exit norms of the school. Will there be staggered timings for arrival and staggered timings for gates? Will the gates also be staggered, that parents and children of classes lower KG to class 1 will enter from gate number 3, which is on the back side of the school, while as others will enter from gate number 1, which is on the front of the school? We in Delhi are lucky. We have more than 4 to 5 gates. It will mean only adding up more employees at each gate, more thermal scanners at each gate, more arrangements of sanitization of hands or washing of hands at each gate. Parents on gates, How will the parents be told to follow social distancing? Because each one of them regards his child as the most important. What about bus rules? The bus in charge will have to make those rules as to where will the students sit and where will the staff sit. How will the bus, with now only 20 or 25 children applying in the bus, because you can't stuff the bus, because then you are sending social distancing, I mean, far, far away. Students, if they are coughing in the bus, or if they are sick, or if they are sneezing in the bus, how will the driver or the in charge in the bus report this case? How is it to be avoided? How can action be taken? The driver or the cleaner or the ayah in the bus can be coughing. She can be sneezing. Now, before somebody says, here is corona on the front seat of our bus, we need to take precautions as to how the driver should cough and what kind of precautions, what kind of tests do we need to subject him to. We should have extra drivers available with us. Then the most important fact, which is to bring the children out of this trauma, to stabilize them both emotionally and socially, social and emotional learning will become very, very important. Make them aware of themselves, make them aware of the necessity of maintaining this social distance, make them aware that things will pass. We will emerge victorious after this, because every new beginning has to pass through a difficult phase. You will have to see that there are some ethical and virtual screens. They are the need of the hour. You will not be able to see them. They are only virtual screens. For example, shaking of hands, hugging each other. It's a common fact which even I've seen my staff members would spend first 4 minutes in hugging each other before they would come to the classes. Right? They have every right to do it, but this time it's not permissible as per social distancing rules. Self-learning goals have to be set by each child. Each child should plan what are his goals of learning and how is he going to, effect those goals and bring them into existence. There are some aspects that the teachers have to bear in mind on the right-hand side. In case a teacher is found a positive case, I would request the principal to grant him medical leave and casual leave. It could be doubled, and the teacher could get another 15 to 20 days of leave. Thereby, you are saving the children as well as yourself and the teacher. Supported by a medical certificate. And then what more can you do? The teacher can come to school only after he obtains a medical certificate that the teacher does not carry infection now. If the teacher has a cough or a cold, then the teacher can teach from home. Give them that facility. If some of the rooms in the school are made Zoom classrooms or Zoom-enabled rooms, well, then the teacher can talk directly from his home. Teachers are to be made aware of the social distancing norms, and please not only make them follow it, but guide them to make the children follow these rules, make the parents follow these rules. And teachers can connect from home as often as possible. Notebook collection and correction norms will have to include a day of sanitization. When the children come with their notebooks, please ask them to leave them at a safe distance from you, where they stay for 24 hours. You could spray a little of Dettol sanitizer if you have on them, and next day you could take them up. Don't take them and don't touch them. By then the virus, if any, on the notebooks will have automatically died down. Teachers must get COVID-19 insurance if your school has medical insurance policies. Give them that insurance, or they can do it on their own. If cameras are live in the class, then teachers should avoid leaving a classroom blank under all circumstances. Never leave a classroom. Wait for the other teacher to replace you. I know you yourself have a class, and unless you reach there, the principal sir is going to make arrangements of admitting or appointing a few hands who will come to the door so as to enable you to leave till the other teacher joins. Such arrangements will have to be made. Staff rooms also will have to follow social distancing norms. Now about parents. If the contact time and syllabus remains the same for the students, then other learning platforms and technology, these virtual learning classes are a must for them. Social distancing will continue. It will make students stay at home, and therefore keeping them busy is very important. And this is where your parents can help you. Parents will have to push their students to keep on learning. The screen now becomes a classroom. They will have to put them in front of the screen, stay by their time for a little while, and then check up what was taught. But being ethical on screen becomes more important. We don't want locker rooms to be created on Instagrams. We have things happening in Delhi, which was very bad. One boy has been arrested, the other has committed a suicide already. I mean, we feel very bad when we give these children the tools that technology enables them to use. We have to create values and give them ethical lessons. Please ensure that no social messaging which spreads panic or fear engulfs the students under any circumstances. This is why our speaker spoke about communication. He said communication, communication, and communication. We have to keep on communicating, then only we can keep rumor mongering away. The other aspects are, if there are children coming from a red zone, what will be the protocol for them? How will the visitors be managed in the school? We want to enhance their coming, but at the same time, we want to regulate it. How will we train our class 4 staff, our teaching staff, and even the children on cleanliness of the campus and on sanitization? How will we make them aware about rules of hygiene that have totally changed? Now, this is for the support staff also. And more important for them, how will we make the support staff sensitive and train them what kind of changes have occurred in our lifestyle? Now, this is the plan I envisage. Not necessarily, you can have it in your own way. This is not something which is God-given. I imagined it. This is my imagination playing havoc with my brain. I expect that there should not be more than 5 or 4 rows in a class, depending on the length and breadth of your class. I see classrooms of 22 to 24 on an average everywhere. Sometimes it is 25 by 30 even. If there are bench 1 and bench 2, we should have a 6 feet difference on the right, on the left, in front and behind. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Most classes are 500 to 600 square feet will become ideal, and you should not have, this is a classroom for 20 children, 4 students in a row, 5 rows. If you do not have 5 rows, 4 rows only, 4 into 4, 16, you should not have more than 16 attending. The other option is you divide the whole school. All grades from class 1 to 12th are divided into groups. One group comes on odd dates, the other group comes on even dates. We learned this odd even from our Chief Minister of Delhi. Now it's becoming applicable to our classrooms also. Monday, supposing the date on Monday is 11th, well, 11th is an odd day and 12th is an even day. Roll numbers 1, 3, 5, 7 are odd. 2, 4, 6 are even. So half the class comes on Monday, then repeats on Wednesday and repeats on Friday, while as the other half comes on Tuesday, then repeats on Thursday, and then repeats on Saturday. Now, this is how it will impact us. We'll have all grades KG to class 10, but only half the strength. If your school has 2,000 students, you will be teaching 1,000 on a particular day, 1,000 on the next day. Again, that 1,000 will come back, but you'll say, sir, will I teach the same thing twice? No. What you teach in the class today will be taught online to the other group of children who are at home. So the timing of the class will be the online timing for them. You will be, the school has to make arrangements of putting you on Zoom or some other platform, while as classroom teaching face-to-face with half the class and the other class at home. Next day when they come, it is face-to-face with them and half the class is receiving online teaching at their home. This is how we go in for academic planning. Actually, we are trying to online blend teaching. This has to be implemented if the curriculum is reduced by the NCERT or CBSE, respectively. We'll have to analyze this curriculum. I mean, how will we do that? We'll have to have face-to-face teaching and synchronous online teaching. What I was suggesting, half the class is listening to you, you are physically interacting with them, whereas with the other half, you are interacting online. Once per week for one whole lesson or twice per week for 25 minutes each. You can organize Zoom, Google Meet, Skype, or Microsoft. Weekly clinic, face-to-face or online discussions. You can have learning experiences for this week and learning experience for the next week. You can have online asynchronous discussions. They must go ahead 1 week ahead or 1 week behind. Not necessarily they move with the classes. Now, these are some of the techniques that can be used. As you start working with them, this will be available to you when I send you the recording. Naturally, sir will step. These are steps to restart operation after lockdown. How do you, at the management level, what are the things that need to be done? At the entry level of the gates, this is the first or the second inner circle. Shop floor, how do we manage that? How do we manage the canteen, the transportation, the emergency response, the training and awareness, and the communication through notice boards? Then each one of them will have its factors. For example, at the management level, they have to make project teams. They will have to decide upon policies of pandemic recovery. They will have to have a structured organization. They will have to decide upon how exercises will be given, how tests will be conducted. They will have to decide upon sufficient stocks of PPEs and medicines is available in the school. What will be the screening and how will we do it? All incoming members will have to be given some kind of screening. I'm leaving this also with you. This can be, I mean, I would request, sir, if he can have a broad, bigger picture of it. The size can be increased and it can be put up at several places, especially in his own room, in his own office, in the staff room, in the recreation room, where everybody can see it. So that will enable you. I'm sure you will be doing a lot of work. Well, this is the picture of an examination which was conducted recently in Singapore. An assessment done in the open air. This doesn't have a ceiling at all. The room that you see or the stadium that you see, it's an indoor stadium without any ceiling. And they conducted this examination recently. Perhaps you could think of conducting your tests also, even inside the classrooms, because the CBSE has allowed us to put 10 to 12 students in one room, not more than that. And the furniture can be kept at its own place. You can have one and then three. The third seat can be used. That way also the examinations will have to be conducted. I do not stop sharing it. Instead, I close it. And I will be requesting both Pramodji and Dr. Avtar Singh, if he has made a note of some of the questions. Should I stop sharing the screen?
Yes, sir.
I think I can stop that.
You have stopped it, sir.
No, the recording is continued. Should I stop the recording also? Because
No,
that
sir.
would make
No,
my...
sir.
No, sir, I should continue it. All right.
Yes,
You want me to give reliable answers. Right, sir. Right, sir, I'm ready. Whatever you advise, sir. Sir, whose is the first question? We have only 4 chats rejoined at network. I already did, as he suggested, to show work before delivering to students. Lovely. Dear teachers, if you have to ask any questions, you need to write that in the chat box. You are audible. That's lovely. I don't have any more questions. Now, right. In the first row, we have Anjana here. Anjana, switch on your mic, please. Anjana, could you switch on your mic? Yes. Unmute yourself. That's lovely. Do you have a question, please? Any question? And meanwhile, we have Vivo 81802. Switch on your mic, beta. Vivo 1802. Switch on your mic. Mr. Diman, switch on your mic. You could all do that. Please see that there is no noise in the background. Anybody who could ask me a question. I checked the first row, which is available to me on my screen. Manju is here. She could also. Veena Gupta is there. She has already done that. Leno Vibe K4N is one of my daughters who also can switch on. Rupaji is there. She can also switch on. So we'll take up the 2 rows. Questions, if anybody has from the first 2 rows. Any question, any difficulty that you are experiencing. Relevant to this presentation or not relevant to this presentation, doesn't matter. We cannot have all the answers, but we'll try to see if we can answer your question. Yes, Rupa. Yes, Rupa, I can see your hand.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a question. Like you said, while we are having online classes,
Right.
we are having classes after the school open. So as teachers have to take double shift, like they have to take a few like odd and even, like you said, some classes will be taken in the classroom and some online. So won't it put pressure on the teachers to do double shifts?
I'm sorry, Rupa Bitya, perhaps I was not able to communicate myself correctly. I'll communicate myself correctly. The school will run for the usual 6 or 5 hours.
Okay.
So there is no question of my teachers staying back and running now a double shift from home.
Okay.
I want that while the teacher is teaching, actual classroom teaching, there should be a mechanism made available by the school that the teacher goes online at the same time for those children who have not been able to come to school today.
Okay.
Supposing I am teaching roll number 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6 are at home. As soon as the bell goes and the morning assembly is conducted, these children who are at home will also participate in the morning assembly. They'll all get up and have prayers. I was delighted to see schools organizing the morning assembly online. The schools having Zumba classes online. The schools having painting competitions online. The schools having yoga and meditation sessions online. Well, that was the greatest joy I had when those principals, Pramodji knows, they did speak of these things and they said, we are organizing all this. Now a new test. If we can be Zoom enabled and the children can hear and see the teacher while she is teaching the actual lesson, the other part of the class is used. Or you can have other ways of also doing it. Well, then the time will have to be reduced. It will be very heavy on the teacher if you want her to do it twice, because there may be 2 different techniques that she uses. Then she does not teach more than 2 or 3 subjects a day and then teaches those 2 or 3 subjects to the other class also. Perhaps she could rehearse them in her actual classroom teaching and be ready for the online class after that. She could have 45 minutes classes online, offline, and she could have 30 minutes classes online. We have to look to the teachers' health also. They are our assets. We would not like them to lose their voices, lose their throats, or fall ill. Therefore, don't build up pressure on them. Find a way which is acceptable and which they accept. We as teachers have been so docile that when the principal or the management tells us, you will have to do this, and then you will have to do this, and then you will have to do this, we at once say yes. Then after 2 days, do we realize that we are not capable of doing all that. And we fall a victim to our own expectations.
So that means we, during the class only, we have to make such, arrangements in the class where simultaneously both the classes are taking place.
That's lovely. That would be the loveliest arrangement. And I think you have CCTVs. You have to only enable CCTV connections to go onto a screen, and from a screen they are zoomed onto all the homes. And the children should be able to access that. I'll tell you where I learned it. I must share with you honestly where I learned. I haven't seen such a thing happening anywhere. My son was in South Africa and he sent me a link. I was in Hyderabad. I said, Beta, what is this? I talked to him on phone. I said, what is this link about? He said, Papa, you know that I have installed some cameras at my home. 6 of them are installed, and I can watch my children, I can watch my entire family, and I am looking after the protection and the security of my house. I have sent you the link, and I would like you to visit this link 2 or 3 times a day. So by clicking on the link, I could watch all those 6 cameras. Why can't you? And please let me tell you, our CBSE has come up with programs which will be available to us on normal TV channels. And these TV channels are going to be free for all. All the rural children, millions and millions of them will be watching. One channel will be dedicated to class 1. One channel will be dedicated to class 2. This has already been done by the government of India. It's already, some of the channels are already working. Now, the children could be asked to watch those channels because they will be having the same lessons. Even that could be a homework or an assignment. Pramodji, you wanted to say something?
Yes, sir. We do have this facility.
Right.
We have the, all the CCTV on the, IP address.
Right.
Yeah, CCTV is on the IP address. All the, cameras on the IP.
I'm sure your experts from the engineering college can be called for a day, and they can tell you how best it can be managed. how
I
best
only
it
think
can
we
be.
have to,
Because we have to give them a link of a
restructure.
particular class. Yes. The
Only
link
we have to restructure
to
that.
those children, the link will go of their own class and not of the entire school. I was glad one of my members here, was it Sunita Tandon? No, it was
Sunita Tandon
only.
yes, she said that we are already doing this in our school, not the online teaching, but she said we are having these competitions, having these programs, and that's wonderful. Pramodji did speak to more than 200 principals on a day when he spoke as to how we are doing online teaching in our school. He enlightened the other principals also, and we were enlightened by other principals also. Mr. Diman, any questions from you, sir?
Sir, in the present scenario,
yes,
there
sir.
is a financial crisis from both sides, management side and the parent sides.
Oh my God.
When the school reopens, is there any solution of this problem?
I don't envisage that this crisis will continue for long. You are a wise gentleman, you have worked so long. Once the schools start opening and the children start coming to school, the parents also will come and start paying. We may not receive the total 100% revenue that we are getting monthly. We may get only 80 to 90% of the revenue. Now, it's not that we will be losing jobs like people in America have already lost them. People in India also have been, contractual employees have already been thrown out. Many IT companies have already thrown out 1/3 of their employees. And you will be surprised, in one of the best IT companies of the world in India, which is a multinational company, the top brass, which is more than 300 people of the company, decided that they would not be collecting 60% of their salary for this year. So they have decided to live on only 40% of their salary. So similarly, the management, jointly with the staff of any school, can take a decision that, look here, we are facing a cash crunch. Our cash will be available to us as soon as the schools open. Why can't we reduce our salary expenditure by 10 to 20% for the present? This remains as a deposit with us. You collect your 80% or your 90%, which we have been able to raise as loans or collect from certain other sources. We'll give it to you. The crunch will be there for some time, but don't lose hope, sir. Don't lose hope. As long as we are all alive and we struggle and we face these problems together. I was very glad, Mr. Diman, as a true teacher, you said that the management and the parents, see, these are the stakeholders, all of us, the staff, the students.
We are the two faces of the coin.
Ah, yes, and it's all. The management is almost helpless. Even if they approach a bank for loans, possibly the bank doesn't have money to give it. The bank won't come out with an overdraft. And the management does not keep reserves. You know how much they have been investing. Each management has been investing in the development of the school. And this time the investment is more required now. Sanitization, arrangement of equipments, thermal, these scanners, all this. And plus they have to keep a reserve for emergencies. So naturally the staff should join, but I don't expect that the staff does not collect any salary. Well, there can be a few who can write, madam, we have other source of income at home. I am managing my family. Please do not draw my salary for the next 4 months. That can happen very easily. But others do need it. You see, for example, if I would not have been paid my salary by the 7th of every month in my school, I would have never survived. My shopkeeper would not let me go home. Every day he was asking, sir, wo saman liya tha, uske paise to de dijiye. Agar 3 ke baad 4 day aata. So do manage. We will have all to bear a little hardships. Manju, any questions? Manju, switch on your audio first if you want to ask. Veena, anybody else? Udika, any questions?
Yes, any questions if you want to ask?
You see, when you do not ask questions, there can be only 2 reasons. People think that they understood everything. Let me look at the positive first. They understood everything. It was so beautifully explained that everything went here and we know everything.
Exactly, this was the same.
Yeah, maybe.
One appreciation question is from my side.
One second, sir. The second alternative is the pessimistic outlook. Sir, we understood nothing. We didn't know what the hell you were talking. So there are no questions at all. Now, I expect a balance to be struck between the two. There are certain things that we understood very well, and there are certain things which we did not understand. Yes, sir. My son wanted to ask something. Is it Mr. Sharma? Who wanted to ask a question? You see, you have in the reactions button, if you press that, you can raise your hand or you can lower your hand. I don't know who wanted to ask a question, but he can go ahead. Please go ahead.
Sir, Sunita Tandon wanted to ask something to you.
Please, Sunita, would you ask me that question?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
What is the question?
सर वाईफाई नहीं है, डाटा की बड़ी प्रॉब्लम आती है, हर हफ्ते में डाटा खत्म हो जाता है.
That's true. That's true. You are still lucky.
I'm the person who is holding the breadwinner of my family, as well as my parents are so old. पूरा दिन फोन के ऊपर, it's very difficult.
That is true. That is true.
I know.
But things will ease now because now you have the summer break. The summer break will not have classes. There may be very few. You may
Also, I'm having summer camp from the school kids. It's already going.
If the summer camp, well, you will have to strike a balance. To be honest with you, Madam Tandon, I was preaching in my B.Ed days when I became the principal of a B.Ed college. I was teaching that there is a work-life balance. You have to strike a balance between work and home. But I realized within a year that it was all a myth. When you attend to your work at your college or school, your home suffers. And when you start overthinking about your home, work suffers. Now, I would request Sumita, you will have to find a solution. Sit with the principal, madam. Sit with the principal, find a solution. He will not be able to give you a solution to your domestic problems. You see, you are the sole bread earner. That definitely is right. You have to work within the family. That also is right. He may reduce your timings. He may give you a little allowance for buying more data, which can very easily be arranged. And if he doesn't give it, you take that much of money from me every month, buy that much of extra data, keep on teaching to the online students.
Will do. No worries.
I am also an august member of the management of this school. And if I make that little contribution for one of my daughters, it doesn't matter. I can buy this data. I don't have to pay money to you. You can send me the details of your data and I'll buy it in bulk for you, which will be available to you for a couple of months. Because you will be happy.
Will do.
Thank you, beta. No, I can also do it. I am a part of you, beta. We are not separate.
No, the information was not shared. It was the first time that she has shared her.
That's so lovely. This is what I said. Many people in our actual face-to-face classroom teaching hesitate to talk. But suddenly when they come online, they are able to express themselves. Well, that may surprise you. In online teaching, those children who never spoke in the classes will speak in online teaching. Aditji, please sit there for some time. No worry. Just sit.
To whatever you are saying.
No, sir. I'm just answering some of my questions. One of my daughter was experiencing a little difficulty.
I heard.
You heard all that. Now, then I know the solution has already been planned.
We are there.
Do you have a pedagogical question? I would love a pedagogical question. Can any one of you now answer my question? This is not an assessment. This is not an assessment. I would love and feel very happy for the whole day. We have a session at 4. Where I will have more than 400 people attending that session. What do you understand by blended teaching? Blended teaching. I did make a mention of blended teaching. Who will tell me what is blended teaching? Because the quicker you adopt it, the better it is.
Sir, before they answer, I would just like to say that they are balancing their work and home life equally well.
That's lovely.
बच्चे को पढ़ाने के साथ साथ अपने बच्चों को भी पढ़ा रही हैं.
That's great.
डबल क्लासेस अटेंड कर रही हैं और डबल मेहनत कर रही हैं और सब कमाल का एफर्ट कर रहे हैं इस सिचुएशन में.
So we need to give them a hand, sir. We need to clap for all of them. I am proud of them. Proud of them.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much,
sir. Proud of them. Anybody here?
Nobody.
One of my participants, who happens to be my daughter from Jaipur, she says blended teaching is using technology, science, STEM, Atal labs, all in the lesson. When all these things are integrating, we are blending. All of you have blenders at home, don't you? Don't you blend an egg sometimes?
Manju Wali wants to answer, sir.
Manju Wali should tell us. Hello.
Yes. Manju, unmute yourself first. Unmute.
Yes, sir.
बेटा गेट पे
Blended
छोड़
learning
दीजिए.
is
One second मंजू, 1 second. गेट पे छोड़ दीजिए, उसी से दस्तखत करवा दीजिए बेटा. मैं आ नहीं सकूंगा, मेरा क्लास है. एक पार्सल आया है, पैकेट का.
बोलिए मैम.
the blended learning, I think, is online and offline learning, sir. It is the integration of both, sir. The amalgamation of both.
Amalgamation. Right. No harm. You see, in our normal teaching, we do sometimes use what we call as technology.
Exactly.
We use boards, digi-boards, isn't that?
Yes, sir.
Right? So we are integrating technology with our online, with our classroom teaching. But if in the online teaching as well as classroom teaching, we integrate everything. We integrate remediation, we integrate assessment, we integrate project-based learning, which is the most important way in which online teaching can be done. Perhaps the only way. Perhaps only way. I mean, blending teaching, blended learning does not happen. I hope Manju understands.
Yes, sir.
It is teaching, and the teaching strategies are using technology, using scientific concepts, using scientific temperament and outlook, using philosophy, using storytelling, using eclectical approach of questioning. Using all this will mean a blended approach. Whichever technology suits that lesson, that has to be used.
Exactly.
In nutshell, like blended teaching would be, using all teaching methodologies.
That's right.
Together.
Like to make
along with technology.
Like for making a juice, we use a blender.
That's right.
Everything in it. And the output is sweet juice. So
in order to achieve a learning outcome, I use puppets sometimes a storytelling technique, and sometimes I use a video which has those puppets and the story in itself. So I am blending a video with an activity, with an assignment, and I am combining all these activities and all methodologies. I would once again repeat, for online teaching, the best method is project-based learning. Project-based learning. Assign projects to your children, small and simple projects. I was talking to a teacher while going out, although we were at a distance of 6 feet, and suddenly the teacher asked me, here in my own colony, sir, I have my daughter in class 3. Could you give me a project for her? I said, a project in which subject? One second, sir. The parcel wala has not been received. Hello. हेलो बेटा, ये पार्सल मेरे लिए है. मैं जरा बिजी हूँ यहाँ लेसन देने में. वो पार्सल अपने पास रख देना उधर गेट में. रख दो मेरा पार्सल है बेटा. I could not think immediately while you are walking at a distance and she is going ahead of you and you are following. I said, Bitya, when you next time go out to buy vegetables or milk from the nearest shop, please take her along with you. And let her for 2 or 3 days see the locality that we are living in, the neighborhood. And when she comes back home, give her a project. Draw a map of the locality. What? I said, she will draw a map, sketch map, line map, not exactly a contours and all that, a sketch map, and show the places of interest for you as also the community center interest. She may mention that the church was here, the Mother Mary's Church was here, the community center was here, the post office was here, the ATM was here, and the milkman's dairy was here. That's what she will indicate. She will be learning a lot. Sir, if she would be in class 1, I said, then she would read the boards as an exercise going along with you. This would be the biggest reading project for her. Because they are large letters, the board has large letters, the shop names, I mean. And she would read them to you and you would keep on correcting her. I mean, make these projects as simple and as innovative as I said to you. Don't tell them that this project has no sense. It should become more useful. Everything has sense. And it is easy to be simple, but it's not so simple to be easy. Try to make them as simple as all. Pramodji, should we take leave of them then? If you allow us.
Anybody has to ask anything else?
Thank you, sir.
No. Achha. So before I should say thank you to sir, teachers,
I
after
would like to
this,
say, I would like to say something.
okay, okay, okay.
Sir.
ये सभी जो participants हैं, all from the side of all participants.
On behalf of all of them, yes, sir.
On behalf of
Who is the person? Is it Mr. Diman?
Mr.
Yeah,
Diman,
yeah,
Mr.
sir, yeah,
Diman.
sir.
Diman जी.
हांडू सर, आप सभी के लिए कह रहे हैं, मैं जरा हिंदी में बात करूंगा इस समय.
अरे positively.
Sir, before he start, actually he has to give 4 lines.
4 lines.
Lines भी 4 ही हैं सर, 4 ही हैं.
Yeah, I know.
सभी participants को हांडू सर की तरफ से, हांडू सर की तरफ से है. मंजिलों से अपनी दूर न जाना,
मंजिलों से अपनी दूर न जाना,
रास्ते की परेशानियों से टूट न जाना.
Lovely.
ये आजकल के सिनेरियो से रिलेटेड है.
Right.
रास्ते की परेशानियों से टूट न जाना. जब भी जरूरत हो आपको, बस सिर्फ हांडू सर को याद कर लेना. बस हांडू सर को याद कर लेना.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I'm always available to you.
Thank you, sir.
Really, sir, we are always blessed by your blessings. And see, whenever we are in crisis, we do remember you, and always we are getting a solution from your side. That is a great thing about you and your team, sir, Arora sir, Avtar Singh ji, and everybody is, equally helping us in every moment, every time, and every moment of, crisis. So thank you so very much, sir.
Thank
for
you,
this,
beta.
wonderful
God bless all of you.
learning concept.
Thank you.
Rupa ma'am has to say something. And teachers, please don't leave. Ma'am, एक minute. Teachers, please don't leave. I wanted, after this session is over, please come on the Google Meet for 10 minutes. Right? I will be sending you the link.
I can come out of the session and you can continue the session. No worry, myself. Honestly, rather than they join our Google Meet, we are leaving. Arora ji and I will be leaving.
No, sir. Thank you, sir. Actually, I have to explain something on Google Meet.
That's right. Good.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
I just
You can end the meeting, sir.
Rupa ji has to say something.
Sir, I just want to say that the few takeaways from this session was like learning is taking place both for the teachers as well as the students.
True.
We have to train ourselves and be aware of our surroundings. And last but not the least, we have to be calm and confident and be patient and take precautions and measurements. So thank you so much, sir. These are the few takeaways which I have taken from this session.
God bless you. I'll be sending to Pramod ji the entire recording of this 1.5 hour session, which will contain the video and all those slides.
I will be sharing
the recording. So I'll be sharing, even if he wants the presentations to be shared separately, I'll send them to him so that if any of the teacher wants it and she can go through it at her own time, at spare time, no worry. God bless you all.
Thank you,
I would love to see you all smiling. Because when you go back to your schools, the most important thing is going to be the smile on your faces.
Exactly.
Because that's going to cheer up our children. That's going to show them how confident you are that we have all survived this ordeal and now that we are back to normal. Our normals are going to change now.
Normal.
Thank you, beta. Thank you. God bless you all. God bless you. On behalf of Arora ji, on behalf of Dr. Avtar Singh, I thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.